Hey guys, today I'm doing the Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare book talk.
What can I say? I just love this. I love this book.
Clockwork Angel is about Tessa Gray. Tessa Gray has the power to transform into anybody she wants at will. Tessa lived in New York with her aunt, and her brother lived in London. Now when her aunt died, Tessa's brother sends her a letter with a ticket saying,
Tessa, me being your older brother, you gotta come to London and live with me. You know, because you can't be by yourself in New York. It's dangerous.
Tessa gets on a boat, she goes into London, and she is not greeted by her brother. No. She's greeted by what people call the Dark Sisters. And they say, here's a letter from your brother telling you to come with us because, you know, he couldn't pick you up, so come with us. She goes with him only to find that they had kidnapped her and they're torturing her into using her power. But once she is rescued, she finds out that her brother is still missing. That's all I'm gonna say for the non-spoiler section. So if you haven't read it, I don't understand why you haven't read it. But if you haven't read it, go read it and then come back. Okay? Alright. Did you guys figure out that Mortmain I keep wanting to call him Mortain. When it was revealed that Mortmain was the Magister, I was like, what? I couldn't understand it how I didn't see it before. I mean, all the evidence pointed that De Quincey was the Magister. I think the first clue that I should have realized that De Quincey was not the Magister was when Camille goes into the Institute and tells Charlotte that yes, De Quincey is the Magister. That should have been my first clue, because Camille not only likes to manipulate people into doing her bidding, but she doesn't do anything without there being something in it for her. So with De Quincey out of the way, she can be the leader of all the vampires in London. So that should have been my first clue. Camille was lying. The reason why it never crossed my mind that Mortain might have been the Magister was also when Charlotte and Henry went to visit him, his reaction was so genuine. It really got me believing that he was a stupid mundane who got involved in the downworld without knowing the risks. I think when I started questioning whether De Quincey was the Magister was when, after Charlotte and all the other Shadowhunters left, Mortmain came back and told Will and Jem that one of the Dark Sisters was resuscitated with necromancy or something like that. When he kept asking Will and Jem if he was going to take action towards it and they wouldn't tell him and he kept asking him, I was like, wait a minute. And then Nate also. The way Tessa described Nate was that he was naive, he was too trusting. In my mind, when he was telling the whole freaking story about how De Quincey was the Magister, De Quincey had him in the chair of fright because Tessa had run away from the Dark Sisters and wanted to get rid of him. Something was awfully wrong with that story. And then to go in the room and say that the window is open, no, I just didn't trust Nate at all. This whole Will, Jem, and Tessa thing going on here. I went into the series knowing that there was a love triangle. I knew it was gonna be Will, Jem, and Tessa, and I thought I was gonna go in with two hot guys, healthy and strong, fighting over this girl, but no. No, Will never had a chance. When I read that he would walk with a cane, I thought maybe, you know, he was injured in battle and he just couldn't walk right. When Will and Gabriel were talking after the whole raid at De Quincey's place, and Will makes a joke about opium. I think, Gabriel said, that perhaps you might consider whether jokes about opium are either amusing or tasteful, given the situation of your friend Castiers. My first thought was like, okay, so maybe Jem is addicted to opium? That horrible story he tells Tessa about how he got addicted to the Yin Fen, the demon powder, it was just so sad. How could being tortured at 12 years old and having to be addicted to that, that's sad. That's really sad. I love Jem and I love Will, and it's just, this love triangle is killing me. They're both great characters. I love them both equally, but my heart is going towards Will more than it is towards Jem, because Will is so funny. He's so hilarious. You know he's gonna say something funny when it starts with, "Dear God, dear Lord," or anything around those lines. When he first meets Tessa and Tessa hits him on the head with the pitcher and there's blood running down and he's like, "Dear me, massive blood loss. Death could be imminent." And when they're in the breakfast and Jessamine didn't want to go through the paper and see if there's anything about Nate they could find out. And Jessamine's like, "I can't do that, ladies aren't supposed to read the paper." And then Charlotte's like, "But you are not a lady, Jessamine." And Will's like, "Dear me, such harsh truths so early in the morning cannot be good for the digestion." And Tessa, oh, she was so smart when she held that knife. She changed so fast just to turn into that one lady who got shot in the chest so the blood could run down her body and the magister would think she was dead. And I was just like, oh, smart Tessa. We don't know what Tessa is. The magister told Tessa that I created you. You exist because of me. We know she's a warlock. Okay, we know one of her parents is a demon, but she does not have a warlock mark. So what is she? I mean, what was done to her mother? Like, what is he talking about? After everything was said and done, you know, Tessa saved the day, even though the magister got away, and Will's on the rooftop of the institute, and Tessa goes to find him, and then when they're kissing, Will, he pushes her away and said, "We've got to use your room because Jem tends to go into mine without knocking." Tessa, she's like, "I don't understand." He's like, "Oh, please, don't be so naive." Why, Will? Why are you doing this to Tessa? And now the story with how Will came into the institute. He was 12 years old when he came into the institute, and he doesn't really like to talk about it, but Tessa hinted that he was an orphan, and he's like, "What do you mean I'm an orphan? I am not an orphan." And he gets mad. It just makes me think that maybe his parents are vampires, because Will hinted that he likes to bite vampires, and when you bite a vampire and you drink their blood, that's like, you know, you turn into a vampire yourself. It makes me think, did his parents become vampires? Will's tendency to say demon pox exists, and every time he mentions demon pox.
Demon pox does not exist, Will. Let it go.
And what did Will do to Gabriel's Lightwood sister? I just wondered, Gabriel said in more subdued voice, if perhaps you have ever had enough. Enough of what? Enough of behaving as you do. Oh, I can never get enough. Which incidentally is what your sister said to me when boom, and he gets sucked into the carriage by Jem. So many questions. What is Tessa? What is she? Why does Will have a tendency to bite vampires? And Jem, how long does he have to live? So many questions. That is all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! After the whole De Quincey raid, he's like, "Nice work in there, Herondale, setting the place on fire. Good thing we were there to clean up after you, or the whole plan would have gone down in flames, along with shreds of your reputation." Are you implying that shreds of my reputation remain intact? Will demanded in mock horror. Clearly, I have been doing something wrong, or not doing something wrong, as the case may be. He banged on the side of the carriage. "Thomas, we must away at once to the nearest brothel. I seek scandal and low companionship."